KGB video? Yeah, I will be playing the KGB video.
Henry. Hi. What do you do, Stan?
I'm an FBI agent.
This scene is very realistic. Hello, my name is Jack Barsky. I spied on behalf of the KGB for 10 years, 1978 to 1988.
I think it's funnier when you fuck it up. Like when you don't space it correctly.
And in 2014, I became a U.S. citizen. Today, I'm going to play a movie critic based on my experience, my actual experience in espionage. This is something that could have happened in real life, how you clear a debt.
Isn't this the dude who married a black lady and like literally ended up like loving his life in America so much and was like and gave up his KGB ways, right? I remember him correctly, right?
Debt drop. Those kinds of false coins existed.
Yeah.
The way he then opens the coin by using tools that are readily available, and the fact that there was a little piece of paper with some information on it, it's quite realistic because, you know, I got bits and pieces of information through shortwave radio, and I transmitted information in a film cartridge where I photographed stuff that I wrote down on paper. I would occasionally wander around in a park and, oh boy, here's an oil can. It was a crushed oil can. I take it home and then use some pliers and screwdrivers to open this thing up, and voila, there was a passport and money in there. I know the story quite well. Abel was considered a hero in the KGB while I was in training. I don't know if he was still alive when I was in Moscow. It has been documented from both sides with a lot of exaggeration. Both the Americans and the Soviets played up his worth, what he actually did and what he accomplished. What happens in situations like that, you can use agents once they're caught for propaganda services. I doubt that the FBI stormed his apartment the way that they did. That looks unprofessional. Why are you running? What you do, if you want to search somebody's apartment, you wait until they're out and then you do that in secret. That's the way my house was searched while I was on vacation. The FBI made a mistake once they're in there to allow able to touch anything. I would give it probably an 8. Does disservice to the professionalism of the FBI. Everything else is really very realistic.
Your profile interests us. You have talents and skills that we can help you develop.
You're offering me a job.
I'm offering you a fresh start. 1 year's military training, 4 years operational in the field.
The recruitment and training of people who would do things like, you know, go to another country and do bad things to good people. I only know about this from, you know, secondhand reports. The KGB had a very, very murderous history, particularly in the beginning. After Stalin died, they became a little more civilized, but they were still doing bad things. My recruitment was completely different. It was a very, very soft approach, and it took a long time, about almost 2 years, to finally ask me if I was willing and ready to join them. I was third-year student at university when somebody introduced themselves. His cover was at the time, he said, you know, I'm a representative from a local business. And he wanted to just know, because he told me, we know that you're good students. What are your plans after you graduate from college? In those days in East Germany, you were assigned after you to a post once you graduated from college. At that point, when he said that, I thought he was Stasi, East German secret police. To me, it was a great honor because, you know, in those days, the Soviet Union was strength-wise, at least the way we perceived it, the equal to the United States, and the KGB probably was the most powerful Secret Service in the entire world, I would still think is highly unrealistic. I would give that a 0.
Hey,
Phil Jennings.
how you doing, Stan Beeman?
My wife, Elizabeth Page Henry.
Hi.
What do you do, Stan?
I'm an FBI agent.
This scene is very realistic. There were 10 of us. We were supposed to live a life of ordinary Americans. Now, how the 2 kids fit into there, that, you know, especially already at that age, there were some agents that had children. I know a friend of mine who was an undercover agent for the KGB. At the same time, I was there, and he was there with his wife, actually. They had a kid who was born in Brooklyn. My own experience was a little bit different in that the FBI, when they started investigating me, they managed to buy the house next door. Agents occupied this house for a number of months to just watch me, but they never really did introduce themselves. This was just for purposes of observation, which when I became a public persona, the producers of The Americans were like really giddy in that, you know, it was like, it appeared that life was imitating art in that respect. Spies are people too. You do form relationships. That wasn't even a hint of something like that ever being considered.
Nothing. You get nothing from us. She's trained for this. So am I.
We'll die before we'll talk.
We know how to do that.
The Americans are quite civilized. This is a quote I remember. One of the guys told me, they will not torture you. The worst thing they might do to you is slap you on the face a couple of times. All right, so therefore this scene is unrealistic from both ends. This is not how
Okay, bro.
U.S. counterintelligence operates.
I'm glad that we just watched
That
MK
chicken
Ultra.
looks tasty.
I'm glad that we just watched MK Ultra right before. Bro, are you still on the dollar?
Hey Arjan, food delivery man here. I ground up my CD copy.
This
of
guy just
DS3
does
in your
PR
food
for the
so that you will
CIA now,
finally
right?
Finish it.
I assume. Like, can you imagine saying that in like a post 9/11 world where we're the American government like actively advocated for torturing people? Like on the timeline, like openly it did. And then the administration that came after that one did not even prosecute the previous administration for torture. Almost so that one of the people that actively covered up the torture became the CIA director.
Operates, and this is not how.
And is now a resistance hero, John Brennan.
Would respond. That's over the top insane. The way these 2 agents supposedly operated, running a travel agency full-time, being full-time parents, and then doing all kinds of, being involved in all kinds of operations that require a lot of work, a lot of preparation, that require you to be in 3 different places at the same time. All of this is totally unrealistic. I told him every time I see one of those main characters running around with a wig, I wince.
Is that Hope Hicks? Is the wife actually Hope Hicks? He looks exactly like her.
Because that's the last thing that you want to do, because God forbid somebody spots you and says, wait a minute, I know this guy. He looks different. What? That's odd. The wigs, I mean, that's a total no-no, with one exception. The people that work surveillance, they sometimes change the way they dress, they change a jacket or they put a scarf on, but that's not ever recommended for somebody who's supposed to be a long-term operational undercover agent. On content, I would give the Americans a 5.
Training is useful.
YouTubers
But there is no
/ streamers
substitute
almost
for
stabbed to death
experience.
last
I
night.
agree. We
Friends
use
of
live
Gus
targets as
Johnson.
well.
Darren, I see you now.
This was very entertaining. I mean, I laughed, particularly at the sentence, "We use live targets." This whole training setup, even from a fictional aspect, it doesn't make any sense. The KGB clearly had bad guys, but this fellow with a leather jacket, I never met some KGB officer with a leather jacket. If you met them today, the way they were then,
6
you would
months,
think
boys.
they're just normal, everyday people. That's the whole point of being a spy. You don't want to look like one. This guy looks like a commissar based on the way they were dressed during the revolutionary times in Russia. The KGB was too compartmentalized. You know, I met nothing but gentlemen who operated on behalf of the Soviet Union for a cause, and we were all committed communists. But if they had tried to make a military unit out of the folks that I worked with, we would have lost in the first battle. All of a sudden, she has a weapon in her shoe. There's a KGB museum in New York City, and they have some real gadgets that were used by the KGB. They would be given to most likely only very special people who were executing a particular very special assignment, just like go out and kill somebody or poison somebody. But this was not standard equipment. Any of these gadgets are evidence. If counterintelligence goes through your home and they find even one thing with a secret compartment, I was
Gonna make it up onto the KGB museum. You don't want that.
operating within the universe of what's normal. And you can find a whole lot of things that you can use for tools and toys that you can buy in any store. It's a -1.
Rule number 1, never take your eye off your opponent.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I like the acting. It's interesting. My training in self-defense was significantly less aggressive. I learned a handful of moves. I did get some self-defense training, not to attack FBI or counterintelligence, but to defend myself in case I wind up at one point in a dangerous neighborhood with some stuff on me, like money or compromising materials. That's all the weapons training I got. This is killer training here, what we're looking at. KGB contingent was called Spetsnaz, the special forces, like the Marines. They were trained for these special type of operations. We jumping ahead of ourselves to think that anything that's out in the media, in movies and podcasts and whatever, will get really close to the absolute truth. I'll even give it a 5. It's well filmed. These are first-rate actors.
The name of the Russian agent is Salt. Evelyn Salt.
My name is Evelyn Salt.
Then you are a Russian spy.
Truthful. So far, the fMRI scan registers truthful on everything he said.
This is pure fiction on a number of levels. First of all, sleepers
I was part of
were
MK
completely
Ultra.
isolated.
Got brainwashed and
In
ended
other
up
words,
on a
I couldn't
strange
betray
reality
anybody,
show. Maybe
even
you
if I
have heard
wanted
of
to.
it,
The
90 Day
Russians
Fiancé.
did this very
My
well.
programming compels me to
What we
challenge
call
you
this
to a debate. Rule
compartmentalization.
number 1,
There's
the
no
debate
such
must
thing
be
as a brain
completely done in
scan
Irish
that
accents.
will help you discover the truth. I was still subjected to a lie detector test, which is the FBI still likes a lot, but it can be defeated. You have to really, really believe in the lie and be a congenital liar. Double agents existed, and there were a couple of cases where the KGB had a mole within the FBI and within the CIA who did a lot of damage. If I may, I give it a 00.
Are you working for the Americans?
I love my country.
This is taking KGB practices of the 30s, 40s into the early 50s and moving them forward into sort of the contemporary scene, and that's invalid. The KGB was absolutely brutal in interrogating people, shooting them in the back of the head, and using all kinds of brutality, which is unimaginable. It's very similar to what the Nazis did. This is one of the torture methods. You put a board or something to prevent real injuries, bruises and stuff like that, but to the head.
Last time, did you give a boucher to the Americans?
Means are much more subtle and much more psychological than this kind of stuff. You threaten somebody with a gun. If they get out of it, they will hate you forever. There's a number of ways to make somebody switch. A threat to your family, that's a very, very strong incentive. When you have somebody who is like I lived in the United States for 10 years, and I had gotten used to a significant improved lifestyle. I had become an American in many respects. I think sexpionage, that's reality. I'd be surprised if there are any major intelligence services that aren't in some way recruiting women to do dirty work. I would not recommend this.
Then the message comes through.
Oh, the honeypot.
We read you.
This thing starts typing, and the fellow happens to be in the place where it starts typing. Well, how do we know that he's there? There is no real way for somebody who is truly in isolation to give somebody an urgent message. The fastest way for me to receive and have received an urgent message in those days was through signals.
Hasan 2 months.
And that would be with a possible delay of about a day, or at least a half a day. Let's say in the evening, the agent sets the signal. In the morning, I read it. Is it possible to intercept a teletype message? I don't know, because I think in those days, through radio transmissions would have been preferable, and they wouldn't just come on spontaneously. I mean, if you want to hand over documentation about, say, a weapon system, how do you do this? The easiest way is to, if you can, you steal it and put it on a electronic media. But if it's just a real short message, such as "get out of here," a phone call, but you have to be now aware that phone calls are traced. There's also communication that messages are compressed and transmitted in bursts, in short bursts, and then they get decompressed at the other end. But again, that has to be scheduled. Number stations. If you go into a radio receiver and you go and scan short waves, you will occasionally hear something when somebody says 5, 8, 6, 9. That's a secret message for somebody to be decoded.
I looked for her everywhere. I couldn't find her at the airport. I even looked through all the flight lists. I headed down to the harbor.
In this business, if you have an asset, and we're talking about an asset, it's a human being who is working with you, you want to do everything to protect them. We're talking, an agent who's
numbers,
trying to
Mason?
protect a Russian who is working with him. I think that's entirely realistic.
Hey, Jim, me and Eileen been figuring you could use a little entertainment.
Yes, all right. Thank you. That would be lovely.
Well, the purported agent is way too good looking. We think that Brosnan is actually a Russian. He has no accent. There's no such thing as a Russian born in Russia, raised in Russia, can speak English without an accent.
God damn!
You're pretty good, Jimmy.
Yeah, too damn good.
You be yourself. If you're good at something, you show off. You play along. That was the whole idea. You want to befriend a lot of people, and you just want to blend in the best you can. You don't want to stand out too much. I made a big mistake. I went back to college in the U.S. and I ace the entire program. But, you know, showing off bowling skills, why not, you know? If you're a good golfer, somebody may want to play golf with you, and that's how you get to know people that might be of interest. This was very entertaining. I mean, I laughed, particularly at the sentence,